Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to store user input into variables and how we can use it for collecting information. So let's get started. In our last video, I showed you how to store and declare variables, which was very useful. Let's get to it. I'm going to change a couple things here, starting with the greeting. I'm going to say, welcome to the terminal. What is your name? That's going to be the greeting there. I'm going to keep the end the same. And so the final end of the program will have the end line there. But I'm going to go ahead and actually read the line. We're using it at the very end of the program so that the program doesn't terminate at the very end. And we're just waiting for user input. And once they press the enter key, then there's nothing else past line 30 and the program terminates. But this will actually read the line and we can store that into a variable. So let's get rid of some of the old code that we used for the video that I just recorded. Let's leave the end of the program at the very end and let's get rid of these lucky numbers. So we have our greeting and our end variables. Well, let's create a new one. So if we want to collect the user's name as they type it out, let's go ahead and say the name will be of type string. We're going to declare it and we're going to go ahead and type console.readLine. Whoops. Just like that. And so what's going to happen here on line 18 is when the user types out their name and they press enter, immediately after they press enter, whatever they typed will be stored in the name variable. So what happens after that? Well, we want to keep talking to the user. So let's go ahead and output a new line using the writeLine function. And we'll say hello, nice to meet you. We'll just say nice to meet you. Space, and I taught you about concatenation, so we're going to concatenate the actual name value or the name variable with the nice to meet you. So nice to meet you name. We're going to keep concatenating, and the last concatenation will be just an exclamation mark. Okay, let's give it a shot. Let's run the program, and once we run it, and we're going to see the output will be, I'm waiting here. Okay, nothing happened. I wonder if something's wrong on my... Oh, I'm just reading the line. I never said the greeting. My bad. Sometimes that happens with programming. You'll make mistakes. So we have the greeting here. We'll leave some comments. We are assigning user input into the name variable. And last but not least, we let the user know it was nice to meet them. All right, let's give it a shot one more time. And we see that it says, welcome to the terminal. We're just going to call it the terminal for now. What is your name? I'm going to say my name is Johnny. And then I press enter. Nice to meet you, Johnny. And it says press the enter key to quit. And that's how you collect user input using the read line from the console. So that becomes very useful because you can almost mimic having a little bit of a conversation or a little bit of quote unquote artificial intelligence with your console application to, let's say, fill out a form. Let's continue. Let's do more. Let's say right after that we want to say console.writeLine, how old are you? And whenever we want to collect user input, I'm using the word collect very loosely, we're going to go ahead and use console.readLine again. And in this case, we're going to say that that their age is still a string because they're typing on the keyboard. We're going to say age equals console.readLine, and we'll say, we're going to say, that's cool. I remember when I was. We're going to concatenate whatever they typed. And let's run our program. That's cool. I remember when I was concatenating the age variable. So, welcome to the terminal. What is your name? My name is Johnny. Nice to meet you, Johnny. How old are you? Well, I'm 55. That's cool. I remember when I was 55. And now you have a little bit of a dialogue, and this is kind of like a fun way to get to know how to program something, and it's a little bit fun. Whenever I started programming, I would run home from school and I would say, okay, I want to make something. So you can have fun with this, mess around with the read line and the write lines, and you can kind of collect information from the end user. Now, how do we know if the end user has actually typed something? Well, that's going to throw us into the if statement, because here we see it's wanting to know our name. But what if I press enter? You can see it says, nice to meet you, blank, exclamation mark. How old are you? Enter. That's cool. I remember when I was blank, and that's because I didn't type anything. All I did was press enter to end the line, and that gets read, and that's an empty line into these variables. So we're going to have to learn how to use the if statement, and let's get started. So an if statement is just like it sounds. If something happens, then do something else. So let's first figure out how to check if something is empty. And so what we want to do is we want to use the if keyword, and then there's parentheses, and inside the parentheses is going to be our condition. Okay, if statements, check for conditions. Let's just say that for now. So if age dot, actually it's not dot, I was thinking of JavaScript, but if the variable age equals string dot empty, that's our condition. So whenever you assign a value to a variable, it's one equal sign. If you're actually wanting to see if they have equal value, it's going to be equals equals. So if age equals, we can use string dot empty. That means it's just like just empty double quotes. Then we can do open curly brace and close curly brace and execute this piece of code. So let's write console.writeLine. I never met anyone without a name. Okay, so remember, here's the if statement, and here's a condition. If age, which is being read from the end user, is just empty, which I use string.empty, but we can also use this, just empty quotes. Then we want to say, hey, I never met anyone without a name. Now, what if they do type their name? We want to make sure we handle that. We're going to say else, open curly brace, close curly brace, and this piece of code gets executed. And we're going to take our old code, which actually says, that's cool. I remember when I was age. Actually, I've never met anybody without an age. Or that I never met anyone who wasn't old. Okay, cool. We'll do that. So if age equals just an empty string, which is a representation of two empty double quotes, then we're going to execute this code, which is this block with the open and close curly braces. This will get executed. If not, then else. So you have an if and else statement, then we'll execute this. So let's give it a try. And that's only for age right now. So let's say, hey, what's your name? My name is Bob. And then nice to meet you. How old are you? Well, I don't want to tell you. I'm just going to press enter. And we see it worked. I never met anybody who wasn't old. And that's it. So that's kind of cool. So let's do the same for the name. Let's do name. And what we'll do is we'll do an if and else statement. So if name equals, or is it the equivalent to string.empty? I'm going to use string.empty here. instead of just the empty quotation marks or double quotes. I just want to show you that they both work exactly the same, but I usually like to use string.empty. Then we're going to go ahead and say console.writeLine. I never met. Now let's just say fine. Don't tell me your name. Okay. If they do give us their name, or their name is not just empty, then we're going to use our old code that we wrote here. We let the user know it was nice to meet them. And so here we have get age, and here we have get name, which actually is all the way from the top. So let's back up a little bit. So we have some variables here, which will be the greeting. So it says, welcome to the terminal. What is your name? And then we have some if statements, which are conditions that we want to check for whether the user actually wrote anything in the line that we're reading. In this case, it'll be the name and the age. And then we also have an if and else statement for the age, which will handle some conditions on whether or not we have those values. All right, let's run the application. And it says, welcome to the terminal. What is your name? I'm not going to give you my name. I'm just going to press enter. Fine, don't tell me your name. How old are you? Well, I'm not going to let you know. It's a little creepy. I'm going to press enter. And the computer says, I never met anyone who wasn't old. Press the enter key to quit. And that's how you use the if and else statement. Along with your variables. Play along with this. You can also store some of these lines that we wrote that the terminal will output to the user. Store those in variables, make it a little bit easier. But if you guys like the content, hit the like button and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.